Good evening, everyone. I trust you've had a fruitful day. I do not say happy, though I hope it has been happy. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Buddha, the blessed, noble, and fully self-awakened one. Today, we ran a little day retreat for some people, and I think one or two people will be here from that day, from today. And one thing that has come, shall we say, has come out with this lockdown and everything is how people have become neighborly to help each other get food and stuff like that. And it's brought out the friendship which was hidden before. So I thought, well, today might be a good time to just look at one or two things the Buddha says about good friendship. This isn't from the Middle Length sayings. These are taken from the Anguttara Nikaya, which is a collection of the discourses by numbers. One of these, two of those, right up to number 11. And also there's a quoting from the Digha Nikaya, that's the long length sayings, discourses, and it's from a discourse to Sigalaka. It's a discourse which is devoted to lay people. And there's one here from the connected sayings, which is about friendship, about good friendship in the spiritual life. So my idea is that I will read out what the Buddha taught, what the Buddha says about good friendship. And there are two sides to the question. So first of all, we have to bring somebody to mind, or some people to mind, who we consider to be good, close friends. Of course, your closest friend is, if you're married or you're in partnership, that would be your closest friend, or your parents or whatever. But just to bring certain people to mind, and we're going to ask ourselves, would they? And then afterwards, would I? Okay. So the first one is, one should associate with a friend who possesses 7 factors. They give what is hard to give. So the first time round, it's somebody you know, somebody who's a friend. Huh? Would they give something that is hard to give? Would they do something for you which was hard to do? In other words, asking a little sacrifice for them. Would they patiently endure what is hard to endure? In other words, when you're being nasty. Would they reveal their secrets to you? Would they give confidence like that? Would you have confidence in them not to tell your secrets to others? They would not forsake you when you're in trouble. They would not look down upon you. The word here is despise, but I think that's a bit strong. One should associate with a friend who possesses these 7 factors. So now, turning to ourselves, would we do it towards certain people in our lives? Would we give what is hard to give? You think of an example, you see. It doesn't have to be just one person, but have you actually given what was hard to give? Have you done what was hard to do? Have you endured what was unpleasant? Unpleasant about them, that is. Have you revealed secrets to them that you wouldn't want other people to know, that is? And have you kept your confidentiality? Have you preserved their secrets? Have you ever forsaken somebody who was in trouble? You've just not helped them when you could have done. Have you looked down upon friends on occasion? Or have you indulged that? I mean, occasionally maybe it happens, but have you actually indulged looking down upon them, thinking badly of them? So now there follows a verse. A friend gives what is hard to give, and he does what is hard to do. They forgive you your harsh words and endure what is hard to endure. They tell you their secrets, and they preserve your secrets. They do not forsake you in difficulties, and they do not look down upon you. The person here in whom these qualities are found is a friend. One desiring a friend should resort to such a person. So that's the first description of a friend. The next one is, of course, they're all similar, but they do have a little twist. One should associate with a friend who possesses, again, 7 qualities. They are pleasing and agreeable. That's the easy one, isn't it? They are respected. So somebody who's generally respected. So you have to choose, if you look around your friendships. They are esteemed. They are a speaker. I tried to find out what exactly that means. I couldn't really find out what the meaning of that is, and there's no notes on it. So you'll just have to imagine what that means. They're a speaker. Do they patiently endure being spoken to? So that's when you have to say something which they don't like, but is, from your point of view, they're good. For their good. Do they have deep conversation? Do they not encourage you to do something which is wrong? So that's another set. They're obviously very close together. Does not encourage you or enjoin you to do what is wrong. So now, what about us? How do we? How have we acted in the past? You see, have we been pleasing and agreeable? Can we be respected? Are we generally esteemed? In other words, are we well thought of? I don't know what this means. Are we a speaker? I don't know. Somebody, you'll have to imagine what that is. Do we patiently endure being spoken to, corrected? Do we, talk deeply about things, or at least go into things a little bit more than just surface talk? And do we not lead people into wrongdoings? So again, this is followed by a verse. They are dear, respected, and esteemed, a speaker and one who endures speech. So I presume, not quite sure what that means. To give deep talks and does not enjoin one to do what is wrong. The person here in whom these qualities are found is a friend, benevolent and compassionate. Even if one is dismissed by him, one desiring a friend should resort to such a person. So even if you meet somebody like that, but they don't particularly want to know you, we should try to find somebody similar. So now there's another way of describing four good friends, four kinds. This time it's four kinds of good friends. And this is the advice he was giving to this man, Sigalaka. So he says there are four kinds of kind-hearted friends. So again, if you can think of somebody, the friend who is helpful, a friend who shares one's happiness and suffering, a friend who points out what is good, and a friend who's sympathetic. Now, what about ourselves? How do we see ourselves? Are we helpful? Do we share our happinesses and sufferings, disappointments, and so on? Do we point to what is good? Are we sympathetic? Then there are four cases of a helpful friend. They protect you when you are heedless. You think of somebody who's helped you when you're heedless. They look after your property when you're heedless. Not necessarily your house or anything, but whatever you ask them to look after. Are they a refuge when you're frightened? And when your need has arisen, have they given twice the wealth required? That's a bit much. In other words, have they given more than you asked for? What about us? Have we protected someone who was about to be heedless, to do something which would have not looked good? Have we protected their property from if they've been heedless? Have they been able to take refuge in us when they're frightened, anxious about something? And when somebody's asked for financial help, have we given them and a little bit more? There are four cases of a friend who shares one's happiness and sufferings can be understood. So we've come across some of these. They reveal their secrets to you. They guard your secrets. They do not abandon you when you're in trouble. And this is the big one. They would sacrifice their life on your sake. Think of anybody who might sacrifice their life for you. It's a tall order, isn't it? What about us? So have we protected somebody when they're heedless? Have we shared somebody's happiness and suffering? Do we keep their secrets? Guard their secrets? We've not abandoned them when in trouble. And this final one, is there anyone whom we would sacrifice our life for? Jesus, of course, said there is no greater gift than to give one's life for another. And there have, of course, been cases in history. The one that came to mind was more of a novel, The Tale of Two Cities, out of love. I can't remember, Dalton, is it? He finally goes to the guillotine, replacing this man who his true love actually loved. She didn't love him, so but he was happy to offer his life for her happiness. It's a far, far better thing I do now than I've ever done before. So that's a tough one, isn't it? Sacrifice your life for somebody. 4 cases of a friend who points out what is good. So they restrain you from evil. So we've had something like that before. They enjoin you to do what is good. You know, they encourage you to do what is good. They inform you of what you have not heard. So I presume it's if somebody said something about you that they're happy to, you know, they will inform you, especially if it's something that might harm you. And they point to you to the path of heaven. So that, of course, is the ethical path. There are 4 cases of a sympathetic friend. They do not rejoice in your misfortune. Yeah, can you think of somebody who does not rejoice in your misfortune? And they rejoice in your good fortune. They stop those who dispraise you. They commend those who speak praise of you. What about us? We, when a friend of ours has fallen to misfortune, do we rejoice or do we not rejoice? Can you think of an occasion? Do we rejoice in a friend's good fortune? Or are we caught up in jealousy or envy? Do you stop somebody who's speaking badly about your friend? And commend those who speak well of them? So these are all little pointers, but the final one also is about spiritual friendship. So here's Ananda. Ananda always says that he knows something, and then the Buddha always has to correct him. So here's Ananda saying, Bhante, this is half the spiritual life. That is good friendship, good companionship, and good comradeship. So now this is about what you need for your spiritual life. So this isn't about your work or your finances or anything, but in what way is good friendship part of your spiritual endeavor? So he says it's only half the spiritual life. So the Buddha says, no, not so, Ananda, not so. This is the entire spiritual life, Ananda. That is good friendship, good companionship, good comradeship. When a person has a good friend, a good companion, a good comrade, it is expected that they will develop and cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path. So having a good friend on the spiritual path is obviously going to be a great support. I mean, I've known cases where one person of within a marriage became a Buddhist, and the other one just couldn't stand it, really, found it very threatening. It was a very difficult time. I mean, eventually it sorted itself out. But if you happen to be in a relationship where both of you are committed to the path, well, you can see that would be a great support. So that it just ends off by saying it may be understood how the entire spiritual life is good friendship, good companionship, good comradeship, by relying. And then he talks about himself, you see, that confidence that we should have in him, by relying upon me as a good friend. Beings subject to birth are freed from birth. Being subjects to old age are freed from old age, or from aging, that's better. Being subject to death are freed from death. Being subject to sorrow, lamentation, pain, dejection, and despair are freed from sorrow, lamentation, pain, dejection, and despair. By this method, to Ananda, it may be understood how the entire spiritual life is good friendship, good companionship, and good comradeship. So in other words, when we take refuge in the Buddha and his teaching, they become our very good spiritual companions. So these are just reflections. It's a way that we can use the discourses just to consider ourselves and to move us along the path. I can only hope that you are moving along the path, and that you will be soon, that you will be liberated from all suffering sooner rather than later. So we can begin our practice.